We continue now at the top of Daf Zayin Amud Beis Meseches Shabbos. This is Shabbos Daf 97b. Rebbe just finished saying that if a person throws an item from one Rishus Harabim to another, but it goes through a Rishus Hayachid, we said that Rishus Hayachid has a roof, then you're going to be chayiv because we apply a rule that Beisa command Mal Yadami, the house is as if it's filled up, so it's as if it landed in the house. Now Shmuel said on Rebbe that you're actually chayiv too, because it's as if it landed in the house, so that's a hachnasa, and then it's as if it took off from the house and went to the next Rishus Harabim, that's hotzah, so you're chayiv for both hotzah and hachnasa. And the Gemara now asks, L'meimra de mechayev Rebbe atolda b'makom av. Does Shmuel mean to say that Rebbe says a person is chayiv on a tolda b'makom av? Meaning here you have hotzah and hachnasa. We said earlier in the Meseches that hachnasa is a tolda of hotzah. You shouldn't be chayiv too. But Tanya, didn't we learn in a brayso? So Rebbe Yomer Rebbe says, Devarim ha-devarim eila ha-devarim elu lamites malachos shenemru l'Moshe b'Sinai. We learn out from this Devarim ha-devarim eila ha-devarim that there are 39 malachos, and this should show us, Rashi will explain, why Rebbe does not hold your chayiv on a tolda b'makom av. Rashi explains, Devarim ha-devarim eila ha-devarim gabe Shabbos tichsiv b'vayakel eila ha-devarim asher tziva. It says the words eila ha-devarim. Devarim mashma train. The word devarim is plural, it's mashma 2. Hey marbichad, the hey in ha-devarim makes it 3. Ha-tlos, that's 3. Eila b'gematria tlosin v'sheish. Then the word eila in gematria is 36. So 36 plus 3, eila lamites. That's the reference to 39 malachos. Uminyana lamali. Why do we have a number? Al korchach ladas kama chatos adam is chayiv behelam echad ala Shabbos. Obviously, it's to let us know how many carbon chatos a person can be chayiv if he violates all of them and he doesn't know that it's Shabbos. V'im chayiv atolda b'makom av. Now, if you're chayiv on a tolda in place of the av, behelam echad havalu tuv, you're going to have way more than 39. The whole point here is that you're chayiv on every single av malacha, and the toldas are all subservient to the avos, so your maximum chayiv, because you forget about the 39 malachas, is going to be 39. But you're not going to have more than that. But if you're holding that Rebbe holds that you're chayiv on a tolda b'makom av, you'd have way more, and that's the problem. So the Gemara says, Amar le Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef said to him, Mar ahom asni lo v'kasha le de Rebbe ad Rebbe. You learn the statement of Shmuel, the statement of Rav Yehuda Mar Shmuel, that Rebbe says you're chayiv too on that issue of throwing through a house, and you have this contradiction in Rebbe, because on the one hand, Rebbe is saying you're chayiv on a tolda b'makom av, and yet on the other hand, he learns from Devarim ha-devarim eila ha-devarim, sounds like you're not chayiv on a tolda b'makom av, and non ad Rebbe Yehuda masnina, but we learn it on a different shita, not on Rebbe, we learn it on Rebbe Yehuda, v'lo kashlan, we have no difficulty. The Tanya, because we learned in a brayso, mirishas hayachid l'rishas harabim v'over arba amos b'rishas harabim, a slightly different case. Here, a person throws from rishas hayachid to rishas harabim, and then, what happens? It goes 4 amos in the Rishus Harabim. So it's really doing two things. It's being thrown from Rishus Hayachid to Rishus Harabim, but it's also traversing 4 amos in Rishus Harabim. Rabbi Yehuda mechayev v'chachamim potrin. Rabbi Yehuda says chayev. In this case, and the chachamim say potter. Now the obvious problem here, the Gemara will address it, is why in the world would you be potter? You might even be doing 2 things wrong. You certainly should be doing at least 1 thing wrong. It's going from Rishus Hayachid to Rishus Harabim. What's going on with the chachamim? So Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. So here is where Shmuel made his comments. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, Mechayev hoya Rabbi Yehuda shtayim. That Rabbi Yehuda actually says you're chayev too. Achas mishum hotzah v'achas mishum havor. You're chayev too because you're doing a hotzah from Rishus Hayachid to Rishus Harabim, and you're also making the item travel 4 amos in Rishus Harabim. Those are 2 separate isurim. The isal kadai to chadu the mechayev, because his logic is if you think that Rabbi Yehuda says you're only chayev 1, mechlal de rabbanan patri lagami, that would imply that the rabbanan say you're totally pater. Ha'apik lem Rishus Hayachid to Rishus Harabim. That's crazy. You're taking from Rishus Hayachid to Rishus Harabim. What's the question? Of course the rabbanan should say you're chayev at least 1. So that was the statement of Shmuel. That's where he made his statement, and his logic again was that otherwise the Rabbanan don't make sense. So now the Gemara says, Mimai. How does Shmuel know that this is true? We can actually argue and understand this brayso in a different fashion. Maybe I can really tell you, Rabbi Yehuda Chadahu the Mechayev. Rabbi Yehuda says you're chayev 1, transferring from the Rishus Hayachid to the Rishus Harabim. V'Rabbanan patri l'gamri, and the Rabbanan actually say you are completely pater. V'hechim meshkachaslan, how is this to be? How is this possible? Kegon do Amar adenaf kalei l'Rishus Harabim tanuach, because what he said was his intention was that he wanted to land immediately when it got to the Rishus Harabim, and it didn't land immediately. Instead, it landed 4 amos later. And here's what they're arguing about. To Rabbi Yehuda Savar Amrinan Kluta Kamashoncha. Rabbi Yehuda holds of the rule of Kluta Kamashoncha. So the moment that the item gets to the Rishus Harabim, it really is as if it landed. V'savida le machshavto, and really his machshava, his original intention, was fulfilled, because technically speaking, at least halachically, it did land immediately upon entering the Rishus Harabim. For Rabbanan Savri, lo Amrinan Kluta Kamashoncha. The Rabbanan say we don't say the rule of Kluta Kamashoncha when it enters the airspace of Rishus Harabim. It's not as if it landed in Rishus Harabim. And his original intention was not fulfilled. Therefore, if you don't fulfill your original intention, you're basically almost like a mesasik. You didn't really intend to do this malacha at all, and you're going to be potter. But maybe it could be that Rabbi Yehuda would never say you're chayiv on atolda b'makamav. And so we're questioning really this whole statement of Shmuel. Now, how do we know Shmuel's proof that this is true is not a rock solid proof? So the Gemara says, Lo sal kadaitach, don't think that is true, because we do have a proof that Rabbi Yehuda is mechayiv atolda b'makamav. So we have evidence for that, so it suggests that Shmuel is correct. The Tanya, because we learned in a brayso, Rabbi Yehuda mosif af hashovet v'amedaktik. We learned this when we learned the 39 malachas. So on the Gemara, on the 39 malachas, on that Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda says there's other malachas, there's other av malachas, shovet and medaktik. Shovet and medaktik, Rashi says, af hashovet im shar avos malachas la da'amr delakach nimnu shemason be'elam echad chayiv akol echad v'yachad. He's adding on avos malachas. Shovet mecharchar bekarkar. There was a rod that they used in the weaving process, which they would hit against the threads. After they pulled on the thread, when they pulled on the wefts, so then they would have to hit it in order to kind of straighten out all the threads. Some people say it's evening out the woven item. Let's say they get wound up with each other. But whatever the case is, Rabbi Yehuda says there were additional av malachas of shovet and medaktik. Amru lo, so they said to him, shovet hareu bichlal mesach, medaktik hareu bichlal oreg. That really shovet is part of the process of mesach, which is setting up the loom, and medaktik is going to be part of the regular weaving process. They're not additional avos. That's what they told Rabbi Yehuda. So now the Gemara says, "My lav davdinu l'travaya b'had ha'adadi." Doesn't Rabbi Yehuda mean when he's adding these things? Doesn't he mean to say that you do these things all together? Ushma mina mechayev ha'yer Rabbi Yehuda told him b'makamav. Rabbi Yehuda's his whole point is that you're chayev on told him b'makamav. That's what the Gemara right now thinks. Rashi says, "My lav davdinu l'kulu shovin medaktik b'hadei shar malachos to hamosif katani." We're understanding mosif as you did the 39 malachos, but you also did these. Umesach va'oreg nimnu imavos malachos ve'ela toldos eim. Rabbi Yehuda agrees these are toldos. Kedektani shovet bechlam mesach. That's what the Gemara now thinks. So the Gemara thinks that's good evidence that Rabbi Yehuda is mechayiv atolda b'makamav. So the Gemara says that's not really necessarily the case. Mimai, who says that's the case? Dilmo liolam da'avda lahalachudav halachudav. Maybe you did them separately. For Rabbi Yehuda, I told him b'makamav lo mechayiv. Rabbi Yehuda has nothing to do with told him b'makamav. And the issue is as follows: to Rabbi Yehuda savar hani avos ninu. Rabbi Yehuda is saying, as I explained when we originally began, Rabbi Yehuda is saying that these are actual avos. But Rabbanan savri hani told us ninu, and the Rabbanan hold no, these are not avos. These are told us. That's what they mean when they say they're bechlal mesach and bechlal oreg. And the Gemara says, I'll prove it to you. Teda, you should know the katani Rabbi Yehuda mosif, because it says Rabbi Yehuda added iyam b'shlam avos. My mosif avos. If he means to say that these things shovet and medaktik are avos malachos, he's adding avos malachos. Eliyamr told us, but if he's saying that these are toldos, my mosif, what is he adding? Of course there are toldos. Toldos exist. There are many toldos that exist. He's not adding anything to the avos. The whole point is that if you're adding, it sounds like you're adding avos malachos. So the Gemara ends up saying basically that this is no real proof that Rabbi Yehuda is mechayiv atolda b'makamav, and we're back to where we started. How does Shmuel know? And the Gemara leaves that as a question. How does Shmuel know that really the issue is their chayiv? That the issue between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan is whether you're chayiv one or two. Maybe they're arguing whether you're chayiv at all because your machshava wasn't done. So the Gemara now says, Itmanami was also taught. Rabbi of Rav Yosef, Darmi Tavayu, Rabbi and Rav Yosef both say, Lo chayiv Rabbi Yehuda elachas. They agree with this point of the Gemara that Rabbi Yehuda was only mechayiv one. So Amar le Ravina le Ravashi. Now Ravina says to Ravashi, Ulamai de solak adaitin meikar de mechayiv hoyer Rabbi Yehuda shtayim. According to what we thought originally, when we quoted Shmuel, and we said that Rabbi Yehuda says you're chayiv two in this situation, where again you throw it from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, and it also goes for Amos and Rosh Hashanah. Logically, how does that work? If he wanted it to land here, he didn't want it to land there. And if he wanted it to land there, he didn't want it to land here. In other words, at the end of the day, This guy either wanted it to land immediately upon getting into the Rishus Rabbim, or he wanted it to land 4 amos later. And one of those things, only one of the, at most, one of those things happened. He didn't fulfill 2 of them. So how are you ever going to be chayiv 2? The whole concept of being chayiv 2 does not make any sense. If it went where he wanted it to go, let's say he wanted it to go 4 amos, so that was just one hotzah. He wanted it to go from Rishus HaYachid into a certain place in Rishus Rabbim. He should be chayiv for transferring from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus Rabbim. He certainly should not be chayiv for the 4 amos in Rishus Rabbim. And if he wanted it to land earlier, let's say, and then he didn't care about the 4 amos in Rishus Rabbim, so we should maybe apply klut to kamisha, and we should say that he did that. He got it to go to Rishus Rabbim immediately. It's as if it landed immediately, and he didn't want the extra 4 amos. So the whole thing doesn't make sense. So Amar Lei said to him, sort of, you're right, but Amar Lei said to him, B'omer kol makom shatir tzatanuach. The only way to understand that idea, that havmin in the Gemara, the only way to understand that you're chayiv 2 is if he made a statement that he doesn't really care exactly where it lands. It doesn't matter. Rashi says, B'omer kol makom shatir tzatanuach, v'keven de lo ichbis lehava lekiyum machshava b'travayu. Since he doesn't care where it lands, his machshava is fulfilled in both scenarios, so it's as if it landed immediately upon entry, and then it also went 4 amos in Rishus Rabbim. Both are fulfilled, and that's what at least the havamina was, that Rabbi Yehuda holds he's chayiv 2 in that case. The Gemara now continues at the 2 dots. Pshita, it is obvious. Niskavin lizrok shmona v'zorak arba. Let's say a guy had intention to throw an item 8 amos in Rishus Rabbim, and he ended up throwing, or 8 amos in general, but he had intention to throw it 8 amos, and then he threw it 4 amos. Hare kosav shem mishimen. So then, in such a situation, it's the same thing as writing the shin mem from the word shimon, and he'd be chayiv. Rashi says, "Harei kosav shem mishimen detanan lekamon beperak habona techayiv bebeis osios." You're chayiv even if you write 2 letters. Ve'afal pishan eskavin lemalacha gadol. Even though he wanted to write a much bigger word, he wanted to write Shimon. But if he wrote shem from Shimon, that he's done the shear of writing, he's going to be chayiv. The Gemara understands that if you want to throw something 8 and you throw it 4, the same thing. You've done part of what you wanted to accomplish, and you're going to be chayiv. Niskavin lizrok arba. But if he wanted to throw 4 amos, bezorak shmona, now he threw too far. He threw 8 amos. Ma, what's the halacha in that case? Mi amrinon ha'apikli. Do we say that he did indeed? He threw it at least the 4. He threw it even more. O dilma hecha deboy halonach. Or no, maybe he wanted to throw it 4. He overshot, and so it didn't land where he wanted. So he's not going to be chayiv. What's going to happen in that case? So the Gemara says, V'lav hainu damar le Ravina Ravashi. Isn't that answered from what Ravina said to Ravashi in the Gemara we just had before? V'yamar le ba'omer kol makom shatir tzatanuach. And he told him, you know what's going on, right? Ravina asked Ravashi, I don't understand. In the case where you throw from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus Rabbim, how can you be chayiv 2? It didn't do what you wanted it to do. You either wanted to go here, you wanted to go there. How you chayiv 2? So Ravashi answered, it's talking specifically where you say you don't care where it lands at all. That's what he's. V'amar le, Ravashi told him, ba'omer kol makom shatir tzatanuach. Where the person specifically said that. And so what's the proof? So Rashi says like this, V'lav hainu deboy minei v'yamar le b'omer. Halo amar hachi. If he wouldn't have said that I don't care where it lands, lo mechayev. Apparently he wouldn't be chayev. Elim kei nacha b'makom achshavto, unless it landed in the place where he wanted. So hachanami b'tarvayu miftar. So his answer is, here you're actually giving potter in both cases. Lo shna neskavin lizrok shmona v'zorak arba. It doesn't matter if you wanted to throw 8 and he threw 4. Lo shna lizrok arba v'zorak shmona. It doesn't matter if you wanted to throw 4 and he threw 8. Potter, you're going to be potter in both cases. In other words, the point of the Gemara is, from the fact that Ravashi answered, the only time you're chayiv, if it goes somewhere where you didn't want it to land, is if you stayed ahead of time and you don't care where it lands. The implication is that if you care where it lands and it doesn't land there, you are not chayiv. And therefore, he really answered him that that in both cases you would be potter. Whether you wanted to throw 8 and you threw 4, whether you wanted to throw 4 and you threw 8, that the Gemara says it's not potter at all. It could be you're not chayiv in either case. So then the Gemara says, 1 second, Udaka Amrit, Hare Kosav Shem Mishimen, and that which you said, isn't it the same as Shem Mishimen, right? The Gemara originally started Pshita, it's so obvious. If you want to throw 8 and you throw 4, it's like Shem Mishimen, for sure you should be chayiv. Now the Gemara is questioning that whole idea, it's not true. Mi dummy, is it really comparable? Hasam Kamedeloch Siv Shem, Lo Michtav Le Shimon. In the case of Shem Mishimen, if you don't write Shin Mem, you can't write Shimon. Shin Mem is crucial to be able to write in the word Shimon. It's impossible to write the word Shimon without the letters Shin Mem. Here, if you don't throw 4, you can't throw 8. That's not true. It doesn't have to land 4 amos in order to go 8 amos. Those are 2 different actions completely. It's not like one is part and parcel of the other, and therefore it's possible that Shem Mishimon you're chayiv, and here you're not. Rashi says, the Gemara is asking on this idea that it's so obvious that if you want to throw 8 and it goes 4, you're chayiv. Midami is really comparable. If you don't write Shin Mem, you're not writing Shimon. Shin Mem bekavona kasve. When you write shame, you're writing bekavona. V'avid le malacha diyesh shame adam bebezos yasalolo. You're writing a real word with and it's part of what you're trying to write. Here you have to throw 4 in order to throw 8. That's not true. Therefore, if it lands after 4 amos, your original intention is not fulfilled. It is not comparable to Shem Mishimon, and therefore it's not pashut either case at all. Gemara now continues at the 2 dots. Tanur Rabbanan, we learned in a braysa, Zorik min Rishus Harabim, Rishus Harabim, or Rishus Hayachid be'emtza. Let's say somebody throws from Rishus Harabim to Rishus Harabim, and Rishus Hayachid is in the middle. Dalet Amos, and he ends up throwing Dalet Amos. Chayiv, he is chayiv. Rashi here says, min Rishus Harabim, Rishus Harabim, Rishus Hayachid be'emtza, Dalet Amos chayiv. Meaning, im avar b'Rishus Harabim Dalet Amos. Point of the Gemara, point of the braysa is, if it goes 4 amos in Rishus Harabim, va'afilo al yedei tzirav chayiv. Even if it's combining the 2 Rishus Harabims, in other words, it only went 2 amos in this Rishus Harabim, then it got interrupted by Rishus Hayachid, then it went another 2 amos in Rishus Harabim. That's what the braysa is saying is chayiv, and we'll continue with this braysa in the next video on Daf Tzadi Ches Amud Aleph.